Listen, if she's acting like she doesn't need you, keeping things casual, or playing it cool when you're around, you probably think she's just not that into you, that she's got options, that you're nothing special to her. But what if I told you the complete opposite is true? What if the reason she's protecting her ego so fiercely isn't because you don't matter, but because you matter way too much? And here's the crazy part. There's one behavior that almost every guy thinks means she's keeping you at arm's length, but it's actually the biggest indicator that she's obsessed with you. I'm going to tell you exactly what that is in just a minute. But first, you need to understand why her ego and her heart are in a full-blown war. Because when a woman craves you deeply, she doesn't always show it openly. Sometimes she hides it behind pride. And if you don't understand this, you'll walk away from someone who's secretly hoping you'll stay. I'm going to break down the exact signs that reveal when her ego is just a shield for how much she wants you. And I'll tell you the one thing you absolutely cannot do when she's in this state. Because if you make this mistake, you'll give her ego the ammunition it needs to shut you out permanently. This isn't guesswork. This is about understanding the battle between female desire and self-protection at a level most men never grasp. Stay with me, because at the 4-minute mark, I'm going to reveal the psychological reason why the women who crave you most often act the most indifferent. And it's not what you'd expect. So, let's dive into what most men completely misunderstand. The real reason her ego won't let her show how much she wants you and why this might actually be the best position you could be in. Why her ego hides her desire. The psychology that changes everything. Picture this. She lights up when you walk into the room, but the moment you look at her, her face goes neutral. You text her something flirty, and she responds with something casual, almost dismissive. You try to make plans, and she says, maybe. Let me check my schedule even though you both know she's free. You're confused. You think she's lukewarm about you at best. Here's what's really going on. And this is going to sound counterintuitive. When a woman realizes she craves you, genuinely craves you, her ego immediately goes into protection mode. Why? Because wanting someone badly in modern dating culture feels like handing them all the power. And her ego will do anything to avoid that. She's been the one who wanted more before and got played. She's been the girl who showed too much interest and watched him lose respect for her. She's been vulnerable and it's backfired. And now with you, those old wounds are screaming at her to stay guarded. But here's the part that changes everything. There's a specific psychological defense mechanism called reaction formation. And when it activates, her behavior becomes the exact opposite of what she's actually feeling. Stay with me, because this explains her entire confusing act. When she starts developing intense desire for you, her ego perceives this as a threat to her self-image, the image of being independent, unbothered, in control. So, what does her mind do? It overcompensates in the opposite direction. She acts too cool, too casual, too unaffected. This isn't calculation. This is her psychological immune system kicking in to protect her from the vulnerability of wanting you. And here's what most men never realize. She's not playing hard to get on purpose. Her ego is playing hard to get automatically. The more she craves you, the harder her ego fights to hide it. Which means, if you want to know if she's genuinely into you, you don't look at her surface behavior. You look beneath it. But there's one sign in particular that's so subtle, so hidden beneath layers of pride, that when I tell you what it is, you'll start seeing it everywhere. I'll break it down in the next section. But first, let me ask you this. Have you ever noticed how she seems to remember every detail you've mentioned, but acts like she wasn't really paying attention? If yes, keep watching, because that contradiction is telling you everything. The one sign that proves her ego is hiding her obsession. Before we go further, hit that like button, because what I'm about to reveal goes against every dating advice cliche you've ever heard. Here's the sign that her ego is masking how much she craves you. And it's going to sound strange. She downplays your impact on her, but she mirrors everything about you. Not the obvious stuff like copying your words, the subtle stuff, your energy, your opinions on random topics, even your taste in music or shows that she never cared about before. Here's why. This is massive. When a woman is only mildly interested, she stays in her own lane. She doesn't absorb your world because she hasn't decided if she wants to be part of it. But when she's deeply craving you, she unconsciously starts aligning herself with you. She'll mention she tried that restaurant you recommended, but acts like it was her own idea. She'll adopt your perspective on something, but presents it like she always felt that way. She's integrating you into her identity without admitting you've affected her. Why? Because her ego refuses to acknowledge that anyone has that much influence over her. This is what psychologists call covert identification, and it only happens when someone has gotten under her skin. Most men completely miss this. They think she's indifferent because she doesn't gush about how much you mean to her. But she's literally reshaping parts of her life around you while pretending you're just another guy. Now, here's where it gets even more revealing, and this is the part that separates casual interest from genuine craving. There are 4 more signs that her ego is working overtime to hide her feelings. And the 4th one is so specific, so undeniable, that if you catch it, you'll know she's absolutely obsessed with you. I'm going to walk through all 4 right now, but pay very close attention to number 4, because if she's doing that, you need to handle the situation with surgical precision. One misstep, and her ego will build a wall you'll never get through. The 4 signs her ego is hiding her obsession. Number 4 is everything. Sign 1. She competes for your attention, but acts like she doesn't care who wins. She notices when other women are around you. She'll subtly try to outshine them, make herself more interesting, position herself in your line of sight. But if you acknowledge it or tease her about it, she'll act like you're delusional. Why would I care? Do whatever you want. Here's the tell. Her actions say she's competing. Her words say she's unbothered. That gap between behavior and admission is her ego protecting her from looking like she needs your validation. And here's the test. Watch what happens when you give someone else your full attention. She'll suddenly become more engaged, more talkative, more present. Then, the second you're back focused on her, she'll pull back slightly to rebalance the power dynamic, because her ego can't let you see that your attention is what she wants most. Sign 2. She remembers everything but pretends she doesn't. You mention something random in passing, a childhood memory, a goal you're working toward, something that stressed you out at work. Weeks later, she brings it up in the most casual way possible. Didn't you say something about that before? Or how did that thing go? She's playing it off like she barely remembers, but she remembers perfectly. Here's what you need to understand. That's not normal memory. That's obsessive attention disguised as casual recall. When someone doesn't care deeply, they forget. But when they're craving you, they catalog everything because every detail about you feels important. Her ego won't let her admit she's been thinking about you enough to remember all of this. So she acts like it just randomly came to mind. Sign 3. She creates private jokes, then acts like they're not a big deal. She'll reference something only the 2 of you would understand. A moment you shared an inside reference, something that creates intimacy. But when you acknowledge it or lean into it, she downplays it. It's not that deep. Or, I say that to everyone. That's ego protection. She's creating connection, testing if you feel it too. But the moment it becomes too real, too vulnerable, her pride makes her retreat. Here's the thing most guys don't catch. She only does this if she's replaying your interactions over and over in her mind. She's building a private world with you, but her ego won't let her admit that world matters to her. But now, we get to the big one. The sign that separates, I think you're attractive, from I'm obsessed with you. And it's terrifying. Sign 4. She stalks your digital presence but never engages. This one is wild, and you might not believe how common it is. She's not liking your post, she's not commenting, she might not even be following you on everything, but she knows details she shouldn't know. Something you posted on a story weeks ago, a comment you left somewhere, a place you checked into. When you ask how she knows, she gets vague or defensive. It just came up on my feed, or someone must have mentioned it. Here's what's really happening. She's checking on you constantly, but her ego absolutely refuses to leave a digital trail because engaging means showing interest, and showing interest means losing power. So, she watches from the shadows, absorbing everything about your life while maintaining plausible deniability. And here's how you confirm this is happening. Post something that would specifically appeal to her interests, or reference something you two talked about. Don't tag her, don't mention her. Just put it out there. If she brings it up later, even indirectly, you have your answer. She's watching you way more than she'll ever admit. If you've noticed this behavior, understand what it means. Her ego is fighting a losing battle against how much she craves you. She's already obsessed. She's just terrified to show it. But here's where most men destroy everything. And I need you to listen carefully, because this mistake is deadly. The one mistake that makes her ego win forever. When you realize her ego is hiding how much she wants you, your instinct is to call it out, to tease her about it, to say, "I know you're into me." Or, "Why are you playing games?" Don't. Here's why. The moment you directly challenge her ego, you force her to choose between her pride and her desire. And in that moment, pride almost always wins. She'll double down on the act. She'll get colder. She'll convince herself you're arrogant, and she doesn't actually want you that much. So, what do you do instead? You let her ego think it's winning while you slowly dismantle it. You don't chase harder. You don't force vulnerability. You don't demand that she admits her feelings. You give her the space to lower her guard on her own terms. Here's how. You stay confident, but not pushy. You show interest without neediness. You create moments of connection, then back off before her ego can activate its defenses. And here's the secret weapon that most men never use. Strategic indifference. When she's being too cool, you match it. When she opens up slightly, you reward it with warmth, then pull back to neutral. You're not playing games. You're speaking the language her ego understands. You're showing her that you're not intimidated by her walls, but you're also not going to beg her to drop them. This does something powerful. It tells her subconscious that you're safe, that you won't punish her for being guarded, that you won't exploit her if she lets you see how much she craves you. But there's one more critical piece to this puzzle, and this is what separates the guys who eventually break through from the ones who stay stuck forever. What happens next? The ego's timeline. Here's what most men don't understand about women whose egos are protecting their hearts. The ego doesn't surrender quickly. It surrenders gradually. She needs to test you over weeks, not days, to see that you don't get bitter when she's distant, that you don't get cocky when she's warm, that you're secure enough to handle both versions of her without changing who you are. This isn't about patience for patience's sake. It's about proving through your consistency that you're not the guy her ego is protecting her from. And here's what happens when you get this right. When her ego finally realizes it's exhausting to maintain the act. When she's tested you enough times and you've passed every test, the walls don't just crack, they collapse. The coolness evaporates, the distance closes, and suddenly she's the one initiating, pursuing, making it clear how much she wants you. But you have to be strong enough to let that happen naturally. You can't force it. You can't rush it. You have to understand that her ego is protecting something precious. Her ability to desire you without losing herself. And when she finally trusts that you won't take advantage of that, her craving stops being something she hides and becomes something she finally expresses. The truth about ego and desire. I know it's frustrating when you want someone and you sense they want you too. You want them to just be honest about it, to drop the act and meet you halfway. But sometimes the strongest desire comes wrapped in the toughest armor. She's not hiding behind her ego because she doesn't crave you. She's hiding because she craves you so much that it scares her. And if you can see past the surface, if you can respond with strength instead of frustration, you become the man her ego can finally relax around. That's not manipulation. That's not playing games. That's understanding that real connection sometimes needs to fight through pride before it can breathe freely. If this made sense to you, drop a comment with the word thank you so I know you're serious about reading between the lines. And hit that subscribe button because I'm breaking down the hidden psychology of attraction.